Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode about movies with William Fletcher. As per usual, I am your host, William Fletcher, and I am joined this week by a special guest, a fan favorite of the Disney franchise. I'm joined by Stitch, joining me.
Hi.
Thank you, Stitch, for joining me for this week. How have you been?
Good.
But I'm also joined by friend of the show, Skylar, also here joining.
Aloha.
Yeah, and with this week, I presume if you've read the title, you know what we're talking about. But if you haven't, we're talking about Lilo and Stitch, because there is a Disney live-action remake that'll be out soon. Yeah, so Skylar, you're a fan of Lilo and Stitch.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I have I have less of like a grand story of how it personally relates to my life, but I did watch it regularly as a child, and it was fun to revisit it. And I was kind of surprised by some things when I watched it again. I do also, in a way, relate to it very heavily since I can speak in a Stitch-like manner on command. So it's very important to me.
Yeah.
In that sense.
That's the main reason I asked you, because you can do the Stitch voice.
And I actually did not spend my life perfecting that. So, I mean, that would be nice if I did, if that was my life's work. But I forget when I realized I could kind of do it. I feel like it was like 5 years ago that just happened when I talked through my nose.
Yeah, I mean, I'd seen this film before at least once. I can't really tell you how I remember feeling about it, other than I had seen it. I remembered liking it before I rewatched it. That was what I had down in sort of my memory of it was good.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's an interesting one for Disney, I think, because this was sort of at the time where they were stopping like musicals. Like they didn't really do musicals anymore, but they still incorporated like music into the films. They just an interesting one. And of the sort of the 2000s was not a good time for Disney. It was not. It wasn't great. Things were not in a good place there. This was when they were making really just not good films like Brother Bear and Dinosaur and Chicken Little, like all the worst
Classics.
films. Yeah, it was not a good time for Disney. I think this is probably one of the only good ones from that era, like alongside Princess and the Frog, which I think is quite solid. And it's certainly one of the only ones that has sort of permeated cult. Like, it's one of the more beloved.
Yeah, it's
Disney
lasted.
films of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, in a way that I'm just looking at what came out during that time. Atlantis is like a cult classic, so that's
it has like a niche following.
Yeah. Dinosaur is terrible. The Emperor's New Groove was actually that.
That's fun.
Period.
Yeah.
That's a fun one. Treasure Planet, Home on the Range, Chicken Little, Meet the Robinsons, Bolt. Like, most of these are not good films. Like, most of those are quite poor. Obvious why it's such a beloved entry in Disney's catalog. I mean, first of all, Stitch is one of the just objectively cutest characters created in fiction. It's like, how can you not love, even when he's like being a troublemaker and just screwing things up, it's just inherently likable.
Yes. Yeah, Stitch is iconic, and for good reason.
I mean, at my work, there's just Stitch like plushies. Like this is fucking a bajillion Stitch plushies. Ones where he's holding like avocados and shit. Like there's like I don't even know why, because that's not in the film, is it? He doesn't hold an avocado in the film, does he?
No, but you can buy Stitch just like holding any item.
I think Stitch is just one of those inherently likable characters, because it's like, and I mean, it's sort of what Disney does very well, is they just create very, cute characters, and then get invested and you like them because they're cute characters. It's not exactly difficult to get an audience to care about. It's like, doing like Pikachu in Pokemon. Like,
right.
it's just that everybody just likes Pikachu because how can you not, And I think because he does a lot of, because there isn't much he's just sort of more making sounds, really, like not speaking in like the English language, just sort of, I don't know how to describe it, but he's like, he yells. But yeah, I mean, there's also Lilo, the protagonist. Disney does a very good job of making like child protagonists and making them not annoying, because that's an issue I come up with sometimes when I'm watching a film. I'm like, God, I hate these kids. It's so annoying. Like, but it also depends on the film.
But yes, Lilo is fun.
And it's a very sort of a character that you can sort of, I don't know if relate is the word, but it's a very like, but it's sort of a character, like you can sort of empathize, I guess.
Yeah.
And I think that works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's like a bit of an outsider, a bit awkward, has gone through a lot in her young life, but yeah, you connect to her through that.
And I think the way Lilo and Stitch play off of each other, I think works well, because they just work as a pair of characters. And I think when Lilo gets mad at Stitch, like you feel it, like it's quite sad. And I wouldn't say this is like the most emotional Disney film, but it works when it certainly has some nice moments. I mean, there's the moment where Stitch says the line that I'm gonna ask you to do now, the famous line.
Yes. Ohana means family, and family means nobody gets left behind or forgotten.
Lost it at the very end, the forgotten.
That's the hard part. It's hard to get.
I don't know. I'm about to say, I want to try doing a Stitch impression, but I don't think it's not coming through. It sounds a bit congested when I do it. There's also, I was looking at the cast because I couldn't remember who was in this, and so like we've got Ving Rhames in there as the social worker. And there's Kevin Michael Richardson as the Shark Man. He is a shark. I'm not just misremembering that. He's like a big shark guy.
Yeah, that seems correct.
I'm sure he's not like technically a shark, like a shark.
He's shark-like, yeah.
And there's the Kevin McDonald, Peakley, and David Ogden Steers as Dr. Jumba, who are sort of. I mean, do we need to really explain the plot? I mean, I feel like
I mean, no.
I mean, but basically, Stitch, he's an experiment. He escapes. People are sent to get him. Yeah, but I think what this film does is it's quite a progressive film, like because it's set in Hawaii, and like the protagonists are not like white people. Wasn't like really did like can't think of many Disney films before this where the characters weren't white. Like, a lot of them were just animals, but I don't think that's really
Yeah.
counts.
White people or animals. Yes.
Animals. Esmeralda, Hunchback of Notre Dame, was not white, but I think
Mm-hmm.
that's probably it.
Nothing else really
Anyone else really no.
springs to mind.
Yeah, and I think it's showing sort of a different. It's like how Moana, for example, shows like the Polynesian culture,
Mm-hmm.
which is very,
Mm-hmm.
underrepresented in
Mm-hmm.
more media in general. And I mean, I know Hawaii is like part of the United, like I'm not like
Yeah, it's a
he's
state. Yeah.
like
I guess the only other obvious example of like diversity in Disney from that time would be the other one we covered would be and that's
oh
Mulan.
Milan, yeah, of
But
course, yeah, of course.
um and that was a bit before Lilo and Stitch. But yes, I just
Hmm.
thought of that. I'm like, wait, duh. But,
Also, I mean, as it's a Disney film, the animation's great. I mean, hand drawn animation is phenomenal. Like, I don't
mhm.
think you can really I think did we talk about this? But I like don't get me wrong, I like 3D animation. I think there is some fantastic things you can do with 3D animation that you can't do animation. Like
Mhm.
the Spider-Verse films, you can't do that in 2D animation, like just the
Mhm.
detail and the you can't do that with 2D animation. But I think 2D animation ultimately dates better. And I think that's just the nature of computers. 2D animation can't ever really date. There's something
Right.
very timeless about it. And I think it's a shame that it's a bit of a lost, leave the done thing anymore. And I think a lot of their animated film, like a lot of their modern animated films, could definitely be done as 2D, and they'd probably still look
Mhm.
very good. I guess the only ones that I think something like Moana probably wouldn't work as well because I think Moana is like a very stunning looking film, and I think
Mhm.
like the clear water, for example, you couldn't really do that in like 2D animation because of just the very
Right.
nature of what 2D animation is. I think it's great animation. It's a lovely uses of color, which I think is something you really get from 2D animation is just
Mhm.
color. Not that you don't get color with 3D animation, but it's more that the way in which colors are implement each other in
Mhm.
2D animation is looks better than what you can do in 3D animation.
I do agree.
Hmm.
2D has a certain magic to it that even though it's more restrictive and less quote unquote lifelike by nature, it also, I don't know, it has a more artistic quality that
Hmm.
really stands out and doesn't age poorly
Hmm.
ever. I feel this is a pivot, I guess, but when I
Hmm.
rewatched Lilo and Stitch, I feel like I was maybe the biggest thing that struck me about it. And I know this is an obvious statement in a way, but Lilo and Stitch, and perhaps it's part of the reason why it's so remembered beyond just being good, is like it kind of
Hmm.
stands out from your classic Disney fare. Like it's kind of about like all of these
Hmm.
odds and ends characters that of course the representation of Hawaiian culture is very distinct and was probably considered groundbreaking for that time. Like just the characters themselves. Like it's like everybody who's a main character in Lilo and Stitch is basically some sort of like outcast or misfit or like we like outside of the typical mold, which I mean like Disney is kind of like known for like broken families and dead parents, but it's like almost to like a greater extent. It's like every single person in Lilo and Stitch
Mm,
is like kind of a goofball and kind of weird. And like obviously
mm,
Stitch is like an experiment gone wrong and a chaos monster,
yeah.
but very likable.
Mm,
Obviously Lilo
mhm,
and then her sister Nani, like I think their dynamic is very unique and like that
mhm,
sister but also kind of parental
mhm.
angle. And then you have the social worker who's like a secret service agent looking guy, but his name is Bubbles. Like that's fun. And then you have like these aliens chasing Stitch who are like also like really bad at their jobs and hated by everybody on their home planet or whatever. And then you have Pleakley
Mhm,
dressing as a woman the whole time, and that's iconic, I think. And I heard
mm.
they're taking Pleakley's Bob away in the live action one, and I'm very
Yeah,
upset about that.
I read that they, yeah, made, like, some kind of change to that. I don't know what it is
Yeah,
exactly, but I know they made
yeah, Pleakley's not dressing like a woman anymore because it's controversial.
so uh,
Apparently, I mean, I think it's a politically driven change. Like, I mean, it's very much like a silly, like executive boardroom decision to be like, we
mm.
can't do that. We can't cause controversy. And it's kind of like imagined because I don't think anybody would really be, I don't want to say anybody. There would definitely be people in today's political climate who are upset about it, even though it's faithful to the original.
They were like, "Don't wanna do a musical, but we still wanna have songs in there because it's a Disney film."
Yeah, they're good. Hawaiian Roller Coaster Ride is a classic. And
But they're also just sort of yeah, not songs that I'm like, I'd listen to.
no, they're not like iconic or driving the plot forward, but well, I mean, they are.
Mm,
Hawaiian Roller Coaster Ride is iconic, but it's not like integral to the story. But there's some nice
mm,
songs. And then when they were like playing the
mm,
opening music to the movie and the opening credits, and then you just have them like doing the hula to the music, I was like,
mm,
wow, this is so nice. but but
mm.
yes.
Um, what else is there about this? But I was reading about the film's marketing campaign.
Hmm.
They had the idea of having Stitch invade other Disney properties. So it's going to be like, yeah, moments from other Disney films, and Stitch would just turn up.
Hmm.
And he just like so apparently they did it was Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, and The Lion King. I'm just reading here that apparently the
Hmm.
actors were shocked when they were asked to act negatively towards Stitch. They're like, why? Why would I act negative towards this, blue koala? Why would I do that? It doesn't make any sense. Which I think that's quite fun because
Yeah,
a
that
lot
is
of now
fun.
is just very boring. It's like a lot of marketing is just
Yeah,
not that
it's just by the
fun any like
numbers.
I'm trying to
Yeah.
think of like fun marketing campaigns from like the last few years.
Like the Barbenheimer, like
I mean,
Barbie had a strong social media
yeah, those
campaign.
they had that massive they had that house in like Malibu or
Yes, they did have the
something,
Barbie house.
and everyone was saying the Oppenheimer marketing team has the opportunity to do the funniest thing possible. Yeah, they do. They could really do that if they so choose. I think of other like marketing campaigns for films because I just don't like there just hasn't.
Mm,
I mean, it isn't like the great campaign either, but it's just the one that's coming to mind is Thunderbolts, and they had like that trailer where it was just like all these A24 properties, like oh the stars of Midsummer and like all this. I was like, okay, that's interesting.
mhm.
I thought that was funny. I thought that was fun, but it's an interesting.
Yeah, there
I'm
was
just looking at
that.
other films that have come out recently.
I mean, it wasn't recent, but like it wasn't that recent, but there was. I just think back to like the first It movie that came out in like 2017, and like all the
Oh,
like I don't know if this hit Australia at all, but like the creepy clowns just like appearing in the streets.
uh,
That
yeah. I
was
don't know if it ever like yeah came to.
no, that was like a
We
viral.
were aware of it. Like it was, I was
Yeah.
definitely aware of it, and I heard about it happening. It don't really get as many interesting marketing campaigns anymore. I feel like.
Yeah, I do
Um,
think studios were more inventive in the past with how to get people interested in
yeah,
things. Which I don't know, maybe
yeah.
it's
Uh,
unfortunately, maybe it's like a symptom of like everything being a franchise now. So it's like you don't really have to
mm,
come up with interesting things to grab attention if like it's just like a baked in audience.
uh,
But it's yeah, it is a bit sad that we aren't seeing crazy things happen anymore.
I mean, the most recent thing I've seen is there was a poster of Thunderbolts, and then there's the new title of that. Like it's been ripped off, so there's
Yeah.
the new title, and then it was replaced with like Stitch, like ripping open the poster, and then they put up a fourth one with like Stitch, like fully having like torn through the poster, which I think that's cute. I think that's funny.
Yeah, that's cute. Also, it's like in
Um,
terms of Stitch, they're keeping some of that spirit alive because I don't know if you're
mm,
familiar with the Regal roller coaster. Like Regal Cinemas in the US has had a roller coaster at the
I
beginning that plays on the screen for like over a decade. And they put Stitch on the roller
wait. So the
coaster
cinema
recently.
has right. So there's like
It's
an
not a
app.
real roller
So is
coaster.
it like when you?
It's it's like a POV, like you're riding a
I
roller
know. Okay, there's
coaster.
like an ad before, right? Like when like if you go see a
Yes,
movie
there's
there, you'll get
yeah.
the okay.
If you see a movie at Regal, no matter what the movie is, they play a roller coaster, and it's you're like going through like like space and a
Mm,
city and like a canyon, and there's
huh.
like giant popcorn. There's like giant popcorn and sodas, and it ends in the
Mm,
theater. It's and they.
mm,
It's not the first time it's happened, but they put Stitch on the roller coaster, so he's like riding the roller coaster and he like smashes in through the screen and he's
uh,
on the roller coaster and then he's like eating the popcorn.
mm,
It's not the first time they've done
mm.
that though.
I do like this film. I think this film's a really it's really yeah just fun. There's a lot of heart to it.
Yeah.
It's yeah a lot of yeah
Hmm.
uh,
It's fun, heartfelt,
yeah.
kind of eccentric. It's probably one of the more like
Mm,
actively funny Disney movies. It's more, yeah, it's more humor focused. Speaking of,
yeah.
it's like a very mild joke, and like it's when I because I didn't remember it at all, and I obviously I wouldn't because of like one line from the movie, but I was kind of like surprised that Disney would do that. But there's like it's pretty early on in the movie, and like David is trying to like win over Nani, and like she's kind of like blowing him off, and like I have too much on my plate, and then he's like all frustrated, and then Lilo is like, "Don't
Mm,
worry, I read, don't worry, I read her diary. She really likes your butt and your hair," and and I was like,
mm.
"Wow." I feel like I have never seen Disney make a butt joke before about someone liking someone else's
Yeah.
butt.
I can't yeah.
but
I can't there was a bit that I
but
remember really laughing at. I can't remember what the moment was. But it was probably something Stitch did because I just thought he's really funny.
of course.
He's just a really funny character. And like, when we see him and he's with that frog and he's just like pointing his guns at the frog and he's just like poking it in the eye and it's just like not doing
Mhm.
anything. It's just thing.
Mhm.
And he's just like
Mhm.
it's,
Yes.
that's I mean it's not the sound he makes basically that
Mhm.
yeah
Yeah,
there's
in a
just
way,
something
Lilo and
about
Stitch almost
it
it's like Lilo and Stitch almost has like an intentional crudeness. I wouldn't say like it's not a crude movie, but it has like a certain like unsophistication in its jokes that other Disney movies don't. That's like really endearing. Like it's a bit more racy, so to speak, a little bit. It's still very family appropriate. It's like more, yeah, more focused on the jokes and kind of being a little shocking in where it goes humor wise in terms of more like prim and proper older Disney movies. I think the humor stands out as like maybe, I don't know what the strongest element, one of the strongest elements. And of course that is just a lot due to like you said, Stitch just being a very funny character. But also I think everybody in the movie is a funny character. Not everybody, but Lilo's funny, her sister's funny, the two Pleakley's funny. They're just funny characters to watch. And honestly, the stakes aren't even like that high. I mean, I
Yeah,
guess they
it's a pretty
are.
low stake.
Like,
Yeah,
I
it's
guess
not
objectively the
massively.
stakes are
Yeah.
high, but it doesn't play the stakes like they're high. Like it's very casual
No.
and everyone's just silly.
Yeah.
Even though it's like
Um.
even as they're like
Yeah.
being investigated by child protective services, it's like, oh,
Yeah. It's.
that's our
Yeah.
that's our dog, and everyone just accepting
Yeah.
Stitch as a dog. They're like, this is a dog.
Yeah. I mean, is there anything you want to say about this sort of rating on it?
I don't know. I guess it's like, Lilo and Stitch. It's like, not as grand and masterful as some things we've discussed before, but it's just like a very pleasant, entertaining, nostalgic watch. Very funny, kind of eccentric in a nice way. It feels very fresh in the Disney catalog still, I would say. And it kind of
Yeah.
holds a specific spot. And I think you can tell why it's so popular still. Like, I guess I
I
haven't
think
thought
it's.
about it,
Yeah.
but it's maybe like a top 5 most popular Disney animated movie like made before like 2010.
Yeah, it's
Maybe
definitely it's a beloved film for certainly
it's a
for a
fan
certain
favorite.
generation. And
Yeah.
I think there's, I mean, it's not up there for me as one of my all-time favorite Disney films, but I think I still do quite like it.
It's not as like distinctly masterful as some others, but it's very
Mm,
very likable and charming. And like I do think perhaps it stands out for me because like a lot of the golden era of Disney, so to speak, like happened
mm,
before we were born. Like we still watched
mm,
them, but it was kind of like this past thing where Lilo and Stitch is more of our
mm,
generation. And
mm,
maybe that's why it holds such a special place when you think about it, because really, like people who are Gen Z, it's like
mm.
the only one. It's like the only one that came out when we were little kids. That's like
Yeah, that's worth
worth
talking
talking
about.
about. And then it's like, people really like
Mm,
Tangled and to a
mm,
slightly lesser extent Frozen, but those are like a bit later.
mm.
I mean, I guess I can't speak for like there are
Yeah.
people who were more in the demographic, but I was like already kind of aging out of like the prime Disney
Mm,
animation age by the
mm,
time those released, although I still watched them and
mm,
enjoyed them. And I would say
mm,
Tangled, at least. Tangled is kind of among the most entertaining. Moana
mm.
as well, of like some of the most entertaining Disney movies you could watch of any era. But yes, Lilo and Stitch is like occupies a unique a unique place in time, but also in vibes. And I
Mm.
think it's a very fun watch.
Yeah, I mean, I give it a 7 of 10.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is quite fun. And let me see where it is on my Disney ranking, because I've got one of those. Give me a sec. I've seen all of Disney. 46 ranked here of like 60 something. So I haven't seen all of them, but I've seen like most of the important ones.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
Right.
19th out of
Not
46 I've
bad.
seen. So it's in the top half. It's pretty solid.
I'd
Yeah.
probably go like an 8 on it. I like it quite a bit. Not necessarily of the same level of some of the classics of the golden age of Disney,
but for what it is,
still very, very good. Still very fun and reminds me of childhood.
Have you seen any of like the sequels or anything they did for?
I have. I couldn't speak strongly, like from strong memory about much of them. Like there's the Leroy and Stitch one, right?
Yeah, so
I've
I'm just
seen that
looking. There's a whole
before.
page. Yeah, so I'm just
And then
looking
isn't there a
here.
show? I have a I swear there's a Lilo and Stitch show that I watched here and there when I was
so I'm just
younger.
looking here on the Wikipedia. So there's Lilo and Stitch, then there's the movie, which is an interesting choice to make it like just about Stitch, really, because I feel like I don't know. I don't think that would work really, because the whole point of the first one is it's Lilo and Stitch. Then there was Lilo and Stitch. Stitch has a
I think I've seen that.
is apparently says it's the last Lilo and Stitch film to be released on chess format. VH in the mid 2000s. That's interesting. And then there was Leroy and Stitch.
Yes.
And then there was Lilo and Stitch the series.
Yes. You see, that's what I'm thinking of.
there was a pilot film, then a TV show, and there was a finale film, which was Leroy and Stitch. That was the finale. And Stitch the movie was the pilot.
The show.
Okay.
Oh.
And then there was just called Stitch, but it's set in Japan instead of in Hawaii, so they just changed it. So they made an anime show of 3 seasons. So it's 26 episodes, and then there was something called Stitch and I. It's just spelled AI, so I assume it's I. Which appears to be a Chinese, is an English language produced. It's a Chinese animated show. I've never heard of this. That's really strange. But they made 3 Lilo and Stitch TV shows. One of which is in Japan, and one of which is in China. Interesting.
Yeah, it is funny that Lilo and Stitch, of all things, really seem to like spawn a franchise compared to others.
Yeah, because I don't really know how much of a franchise you could get out of Lilo.
Right, it's kind of random. I did watch some of the show though. I have a distinct memory of an episode with a black hole in the sky, and like the childhood. I forget the name, but the child Lilo's kind of like the bully character, like the girl with the red hair. She like gets sucked into the black hole. And they have to save her. Yeah, that's all I remember. But
it is weird how much of
one of the episodes.
Franchise. Yeah, and interesting that it became a franchise. But we're talking about this. There's a live action remake coming out. I am not that excited. I'm gonna be honest.
I'm not either. I mean, I feel
if it gets good reviews, I might see it. If people say, "Oh no, it's actually good," I might go see it. Yeah.
I feel just akin to every other live action remake. I will say there's less about this one that like immediately off puts me that I've seen so far. Not that I've been paying that much attention.
Yeah, well, they said that they're going to be cutting down after Snow White did
badly.
Terribly. They said we're gonna stop. We're not gonna do as many of these anymore. And I'm like, you probably should have thought about that a while ago. But Snow White just did so horrendously badly, box office wise. Even taking away the bigots who downvoted it because Rachel Zegler is an outspoken woman of color.
Yeah, people just don't want to see a young woman say her thoughts.
Yeah,
It's very
that's
unfortunate.
so many controversies around that film. There was Martin saying stupid shit. There was
Oh yeah,
Gal Gadot,
all of the yeah.
Gal Gadot being Gal Gadot. Like, I don't
It was a
Gal Gadot.
it was a cursed production all around. And then,
Yeah.
you have all like the racist hate, and then like Disney literally
Mhm.
writing hit pieces on Rachel Zegler, and it's like it's really not her fault. Like you put her in these
Yeah.
situations, you made this movie
It's like,
nobody asked
yeah,
for.
I guarantee.
It's like
Yeah, and it's like, it's not that she supports Palestine that people dislike her. Oh,
yeah,
not why people dislike her.
it's yeah.
Some people do dislike her
There's
because of her Palestine support.
it's a very messy it was a messy film and publicity. Everything was bad about it. But now you have Lilo and Stitch. It's probably
Yeah,
going to make like $1 billion if the
yeah,
projections are true.
yeah. I don't think Stitch looks right. I'm gonna be honest.
I'm not averse to how they made him look. Like it could have gone worse. Like I'm like,
This
okay,
he
he
could
looks
have.
cute enough, I
Yeah,
guess.
it didn't go like
Like
ugly
I think
Sonic bad.
no, or like the Little Mermaid nightmare fuel. It's like it's like
Yeah,
fine, which I guess
yeah,
that speaks to like the status Lilo and Stitch holds amongst Gen Z millennial type people. And then it's
mm,
like just a broadly liked kids movie, and then
yeah.
you add a pretty cute live action Stitch that's not ugly, and now everyone's like gonna go see it. Like it doesn't take that much effort, clearly. It's they're definitely putting Stitch front and center in the marketing, which I guess is how you do it. Yeah, I'm not like gonna go see it necessarily, but I'm not like it's not as aversive as other ones. It's just whatever.
Like, if it gets good reviews and people say it's good, then I'll probably. I mean, I was
Hmm.
gonna probably see it when it goes plus.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure I'll see it at some
But
point, at least.
I'm just looking at the cast. There's gonna be Zach Galifianakis as Dr. Jumba, which is an interesting choice because I don't know how well he would fit. Apparently, Hannah Waddingham is going to be in it as the like the grey alien leader, which is
Mm.
also interesting. It doesn't. You tell doesn't look like the shark is going to be in this one. Why would that's such a disappointment? No giant shark man in this one, I don't think.
A bad choice. Yeah.
That's a shame. And I'm just looking. This film cost $100 million. Like, Jesus, that's so much money. So I get it. I get why something, or like, this upcoming Avengers film is going to cost fucking loads of money.
Oh,
But like, the Electric
yeah.
State cost $320 million. Where did that money go? Like, this doesn't.
Yeah.
That's
It looks
that's
ugly. Yeah.
and like Chris Pratt and Millie Bobby Brown are like the only stars in it. I understand, but like they're asking. There's no way Chris Pratt is worth that much.
There's like
Hey,
clearly some sort of systemic issue going on of like, are we spending our money wisely? Probably not. Yeah, it's poor planning. And it's, I don't know. It's like, sure, if we're paying all the workers good wages, that's great and and admirable and what should be done. But I don't think that's where all the money is going. Like,
and it's also
do
just like
we
Netflix isn't making that money
they're not
back
making it
because they
back,
don't believe in
not
putting.
directly.
Well, because they're not putting films in fucking cinemas, which is a terrible, by the way. Like, that's backward looking. Like, that is a terrible idea.
Netflix does just want to like
Yeah,
kill theaters as their business model,
yeah,
which might work
but
well in
that's
the immediate, but it's hard to I don't understand how streaming is long-term viable without movie theaters, but that's besides the point.
no,
um,
it's not. Like, theaters are people complain about Marvel and that, but like they are the reason we can get That's why theaters are still a thing. Like, whether you like Marvel films or not, they are keeping cinemas going as things are
Yeah.
we can still cinema to see things. Regardless if the films are
Yes.
good or not, they're
They keep the
keeping the
lights
streak
on.
going. So like, they do need to be made because, like, if they stop making superhero films, this is one like they just will not be generating the revenue necessary to keep
Yes.
cinemas.
Yes.
Um,
Yes. Yes.
I
And I
mean,
mean,
I've
we
talked
can
about this
definitely,
ages ago.
yeah. 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 It'll be
Yeah.
interesting to see long term, like as Marvel kind of phases out and like what will happen. Like when will we see more original things dominating the box office? And like it happens now, but like Sinners is like a once a year thing, not a
Yeah.
almost every movie on top of
Yeah.
the box office is original like it used to be. But yeah, used to be as in 20 years
Anyway,
ago,
yeah.
not 2019. But
I mean, I think that's pretty much it. So yeah, thank you for joining me this Tyler for another episode.
of course.
And also thank you, Stitch, for popping in a couple times in the episode. Any final things you would like to say before I wrap this up?
Ohana means family. Bye.
I think that's a worthwhile note to end on. Thank you all for joining me for this week's episode. I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye.